we can consider this economic and political weekly, it creates a lot of misery on an average when it comes to preparation of notes. Students, when they go through the magazine, they realize there's so much that's relevant, there's so much that can facilitate in notes making and update the content like anything. But the greatest threat that students experience related to economic and political weekly is that it's a very exhaustive academic journal, so they really don't understand how to go about with it. There is like a specific level of hand holding that is required in this magazine, which many students experience. They feel that I wish there was some hand holding because of which we could understand what's relevant and what's irrelevant. Well, so what I do related to this magazine, because see, if I take the entire magazine, it will become a very exhaustive exercise for me to personally monitor. So presently, I'm just sticking to majorly the social articles because they can help you update the content related to GS paper 1 Indian society and sometimes social justice paper. I also pick the articles pertaining to agriculture because it can help you in GS paper 3 economy as well as the given area related to, I would say, the sociology paper 2, rural agrarian social transformation. Now, when I'm going to discuss this specific article, I'm going to keep explaining how you need to handle the same article for GS versus if you are a sociology student, how you need to like extract information accordingly. I will, because I have expected all of you to read the article once, and after one quick reading, I have expected all of you to have a brief understanding of what's written where. And you must have realized that, oh, there's so much of overburdening of data, and there's so much to be extracted that sometimes realizing the irrelevant from the relevant becomes tedious. In today's era, when everyone is so overburdened with information flow, like segregating the relevant from irrelevant has become the greatest challenge. So probably this EPW exercise will also address the issue of identifying what's the most relevant, not only in EPW, but in general when you're like scanning through newspaper articles and the different other sources. I think that this exercise is going to also bolster your tendency to see what is relevant from irrelevant from other sources as well, whatever you're reading. Bit by bit, I will be incorporating just one or two articles of political relevance or economic relevance once in a while. Agricultural segments, I do incorporate. But segments associated with, I would say, the areas which should have been relevant from the perspective of political, international, I generally avoid. Reason, the bulkiness of the gist. I just want to stick to the typical 4, 5, 6 topics on an average, which are relevant from a month. You'll be finding it surprising that sometimes the content is so brief. It is so very brief that you just you're reading something like 5, 6 pages, but what you're extracting is barely a page or two. So I'll be just sharing something with all of you, like how we are preparing. I'll just share that. I did not induct all of you in that specific group, but I personally feel that all of you, once you are capable of handling the content, we can just reflect upon the other areas and also what all will be accessible to you. So I'll be showing you a few segments that we have worked upon in the past. All right. So I'll be showing you the articles, like just a moment. Um, yeah, here. And if I'm opening this, oh, yes, I should have directly opened this. All right, just a moment. So I'll just fix it. So there is this specific article which was in EPW the last month. So not last month, sorry, last week. So why? Because EPW, there are 4 magazines per week, per month. So like that's why I said that if we are able to have a solid group, then maybe you are getting like once in a month turn. And if I have to downsize people because of inactivity, then you will be getting your turn maybe once in a 15 days like that. So I think making gist of 2 articles in a month is not a big deal. Now, see, this was the question. Why do Indian farmers leave the cultivation of nutri-cereal crops? So one of your friends, she has prepared this. You can see how neat, how tidy it is. First, what is the importance of these nutri-cereal crops? And then what are the reasons for decline in cultivation? Then the way forward, what should be taken up, and certain factoids also that she has just added. So she said, ma'am, I just took the intellectual liberty of adding few points extra, like from other sources that I had read in GS. I was like, good. And then with respect to Green Revolution. Now, if someone is from sociology optional, this information is great for GS, like sociology paper 2, rural agrarian transformation. If you're a GS student in economy, GS paper 3, why do farmers leave cultivation of nutri-cereal crops, which is a massive challenge nowadays in Indian agriculture. And if you get short points like here, it is like more than enough information to write a 150 or 250 word answer. I'd like to share one more so that all of you get an idea further that what is being done and how we are like culminating that. So here is this article. I mean, this is how we prepare it. So the EPW volume 59, 2nd November 2024. So first, what is the topic? And after that, who has created the consolidation of the article? Because one of the students' grandmother died and she sent the shok sandesh and all that. And she was like, ma'am, aisa ho gaya ghar mein. तो अगर कोई support कर then that's how like people support कि ठीक है I'll take up the article. Anyone taking 2 articles, I relieve the student in future. So we always have a data sheet who has prepared how much and who is not preparing. So all that. That's why I keep it very crisp and brief as a group. Now you can just see, I'll show you this Bengaluru's higher education landscape, internationalization, and life experience of African students. Now, in higher education, internationalization of education is missing. That's why India's ranking in higher education is quite low. What is happening to the students who are coming here? What is their experience? Just a brief note related to that. It can also help in, like, let's say you're getting an essay related to education, and in essay you need so much of extra miscellaneous well-read sources from where you're lifting analysis and facts, and you're adding it to your essay also. So I encourage students that make it crisp, but see to it that if you can add some relevance pertaining to the wholesome preparation, you can just go ahead. So I'll show you just two very short crisp articles. First one, and then this the burden of man anxiety, tracing the urban shift from patriarchy to masculinity. This was by none other than Professor Dipankar Gupta. Students who are of sociology, they really know him, a very significant thinker. And the GS students can understand you have role, you have two chapters. One is urbanization, and second is associated with role of women. So the content associated with like nowadays you're getting such interesting questions, cuddling the child, or there are questions pertaining to caste class dynamics. Like the purview of the question is quite dynamic in GS, and students struggle with that. That oh my god, from where to get this level of information? Because with due respect, there are a lot of coaching institutes which do provide the social issues 365, etc., and a gist of all the social issues articles, but it is nothing but just fact, fact, and fact. But what the examiner is asking is a lot of analysis. And the examiner is a sociologist, like geography, GS question, geographer, history questions, historian. In the similar manner, social issues question, sociologist. So the examiner is keeping up with that similar level of analysis. But because students are not exposed to that level of content, that level of understanding, they suffer from the critical analysis of it. So here, just briefly speaking, I'll show you this given dimension. So first, this Bengaluru's article, like which I was talking about, you can see. So she has just written the chapter it is associated with, and then social transformation, disparities in education. Then what is the associated data? Problems faced by international students, just bullet points. This. Now you can really work upon this given area if this, because there was a question asked by UPSC related to first whether foreign institutions should come to India or not. And there was a second question related to why Indian institutions do not fare well. One was in 2015 or so, and the other one was in a follow-up year. So you can see like problems faced by students, conclusion, that's it. Not too much. Now I said I'll show you the third article. Baki aapko access ho jayega once you are in the group. You can see this. So this is the burden of man anxiety, tracing the urban shift from patriarchy to masculinity. So first, what are the key takeaways from this article? What are we learning? So like, these terms when you use in essay, when you use in your GS answers, the language looks polished. The Content is exciting for the examiner. The content is something which showcases that you're a well-read person, you're a well-seasoned person. So what is the difference between patriarchy and masculinity? You ask people, and I can like ensure you, I can guarantee you, 90% of the students who are preparing for GS paper, they don't understand the difference between these two. And it is in a regular like a journal. It's not an optional related journal. It's a GS journal, Economic and Political Weekly, having articles of economics and politics and IR and social concern and also environmental concern. So the brief insight, then what is the historical roots? What is the Indian context? After that, the pop culture influence, the suicide crisis, the conclusion. After that, suggestions to tackle man anxiety. So you can see this is how the entire information is extracted and it is converted into just one page material. And this must be giving you an idea that, oh my God, like this level of expertise, can I gain it? Yes, because few students are like, let's say, barely like 3 months old. Few students are 6 months old. Two, three of them are like more than a year old. So when it comes to preparation of GIST, what should be really taken care of when you are going ahead for such an exercise? First thing, whenever you are going with any such exercise, what I'll encourage is ask that why is this important for me and what are the areas I need to focus. So first, why is it important? Now, the topic that I have given to all of you to just read and understand was caste and social economic inequalities in Bihar, a disaggregated analysis of 2023 census. Considering the fact that we are preparing for UPSC civil services exam, this exclusive article on Bihar, why will it be helpful for my preparation for a central services? It is a state specific concern, but it roused a lot of brow and it was constantly published before election in various newspapers consistently. We all could see that happening. And in the process of the regular publishing of the given material and the given content, there was a lot of debate and discussion that was raised in the process. Now, these two thinkers, like Christoph and Himanshu, they both are internationally renowned. Himanshu, in fact, teaches in JNU also. So you can find that the fact they will be presenting, what is it that is important for me? And second, how far is it relevant? Now, if I'm preparing for UPSC, how far should this information be relevant? If there is a student preparing for BPSC or from Bihar, I'll say extract far more than what I will be extracting because I'm going to focus on central services only. But for a state service student, more needs to be extracted. Now, from UPSC point of view, caste census gets relevant with respect to the dynamics of caste system and the people, their livelihood, their living conditions in India. And second, it is also relevant in general, we can see, with respect to the chapter of population. So there are some basic factoids that we'll be picking up. We can reflect upon that. So you can notice that I have not underlined anything in the first two paras. Why? First, I'll ask myself, कि इसमें से उठाना क्या है? What is it that is important? So I should understand why caste census is important. Second, what are the threats to caste census? Third, what are the limitations we are experiencing at present? Fourth, what are the key takeaways that we learn from this specific census? And fifth, if any possible suggestions that we can extract from the content. That's it. So before attempting to, we can say, segregate the key points, what I did was first I ran through the keywords. Like for example, if I have this specific article, so what I'm doing is I'm just running through. क्या लिखा भाई देखें इसमें. Okay, there's a generalized introduction, and after that I'm seeing that like I'm reading as if I've not underlined it. Okay, then I'm seeing what are the topics need for caste census. Okay, yes, need for caste census is a generalized information helpful for me from GS point of view also. Then caste-based reservation in Bihar, well, it's a Bihar-specific information. I can skip it if needed. The Bihar caste-based survey, so how the survey is being done. And after that, sources, variables, methodology, because this will inspire us how data collection should be done. After that, further, when we see income and educational disparities, how is it existing? Because income and educational disparities can help me get examples for the topic of poverty. Examples, if I'm discussing issues of development disparity in essay, for that I can get a lot of interesting examples. articles. So I have to constantly keep my mind ticking that what all am I expecting when I get into the details of reading and what all I need to skip. And because I have to prepare in 1 month just one article, so why not pour in my energy to read the article first very quickly to get an overview, and then in second reading just underlining and segregating what's relevant. I am capable to do that in the first reading only, but I know that with many of you, doing it in first reading can be a little tedious. So that's why I'm saying you can go for a second reading and hyphenate what is required. Then we can see after that education and disparities, poverty. We have seen this component of employment as well. After employment, socio-economic disparities, and after this we can see factor analysis. And then last but not the least, when we further move ahead, so we get a comprehensive understanding pertaining to the dynamics of religion and stuff over here when you'll be reading it, and towards the end, conclusion. That's it. So now this, and I purposefully picked a 9-page article because you people are getting inducted. So you should be prepared that not every article will be 2 or 3 pages. Sometimes it can be 9 pages also. How much does 9-page article take when we are reading it quickly? So one page on an average takes 8 to 9 minutes. So I can complete a 9-page article within, I would say comfortably something like within 1 hour. If we are like speedy, it won't take more than that. So in 1 hour, if I'm underlining, like just running through what is like essential. The essential lines which seem to be analytical in nature, pause, stop, try to reflect how is it relevant from two perspectives. One, content related to GS answer writing and essay. Second, developing my language skills. Because from where will you build your language skills? What is the source? Most of the times, the coaching material is so simplistic, so I would say ready to gulp down, that it is not really enhancing your skills pertaining to, I would say, empowering you further. So here, when we are discussing about it, let me share how I have facilitated the underlining, and that will give you an idea how you have to go ahead with things. So when I went through this specific dimension, briefly it was stated that how broader administrative categories conceal the actual intensity of social disparities. When we create variables, categories, I have to pick the data related to household income, vehicle is there or not, toilet is there or not. So when we are creating a broader category, sometimes the minuscule details may go missing. So there can be certain further, we can say, disparities and dimensions which do not get addressed. So this is a very reflective statement, not required for notes making, but a reflective statement for personal use. That, yeah, this insight I have to keep in mind when I'm reading things later. You know, Gist making from EPW will also enhance your sharpness while reading CSAT comprehension. Capability to peer through lines, pay attention to every single word, that will also get developed. So here, when we are talking about it, this specific first para, if any one of you is reading it, it will give you a lot of food for thought, how to start answers, how to make profound introductions, or certain key takeaways to also fuse those sentences in your answer. I've not underlined because I did not feel that it is necessary for gist making. But for language building, yes. So when you are reading one article only, or like let's say on a high side, 2 articles in a month, always keep asking, what are the key sentences or language skills also that I'm building? Maybe some sentence, some word, something which really created the possibility. So with respect to this, when we like start reflecting upon it, this very first sentence, the role of inherited horizontal differentiation. Now I ask myself, what is horizontal differentiation? What is vertical? So vertical will be creating inequality, like class-based differentiation, like rich and poor, right? Again, horizontal differentiation means we are different, right? We are diverse. So, but not like identifying the given possibility. Good evening, whoever has joined late, 1 plus 6 now here. So when we are talking about this, let's just focus on this. So when we are reflecting upon this, we can just understand that the role of inherited horizontal difference, like caste-based differences, religious differences, ethnic differences. So we are different, but we are treated equal by the law. So among social groups is contributing to countries' socio-economic disparities is a recurring question. Now, this sentence, oh, it can be used wherever there is a dynamic between diversity and inequality, any question which is talking about diversity and inequality, or any question which is talking about how we can say social differentiation has encouraged social conflict, like caste-based differences, religious differences, ethnic differences, how it has led to any kind of conflict or disparity, whether in GS paper 1, Indian society, or it is asked in GS paper 3, internal security. You can pick this sentence and you can use it very comfortably in these two areas. I mean, if required, it can be used in IR and all also, which has been given over here. So that is how you get inspired by language. That is for the student who is doing that article. So every article will give you sometimes an inspiration for good quality language as well. Now, what are the key takeaways? As you run through, there is an overview. What is caste-based inequality? Like which groups are provided reservation, on what basis they are given reservation. All this, it is expected a student to know. It's not that the gist will provide the information. If you don't know who is an SC, who is an ST, who is an OBC, then it's better you first do your basic, brushing related to background preparation, because the basic skills are not done. EPW is not for a beginner who doesn't have an understanding of NCRT. So EPW is for a student who has at least prepared for 6 months or a year, is a bit seasoned and comfortable with basic concepts. So that's another piece of insight which I'll give you. Now, the insights which I feel that you could have taken away from this given article, we can see that it's written that, however, considerable heterogeneity and differentiation exist within the categories that the government has earmarked on the basis of reservation. So here it is saying that there have been specific subcastes that may dominate the benefit. Now we know this given insight related to subcaste domination. We can see Dalit elites. You must be aware of these terms. If not, these will help you, and tribal elites, which you can very comfortably use in your GS answers also. Like, so Dalit elites, who are these, or tribal elites? They are specific subgroups, sub-communities who dominate over the benefits which are available administratively. What is administrative benefit? Reservation. So any benefit which is created for an entire community, it is sometimes hijacked by a small group of people. Like the larger community is unable to benefit from it. So it's something which you can just get introduced to. You're like, oh yes, this is like being hyphenated. So we have to find subcategorization of marginalization. I can expect that. Now, some very interesting facts which come forth before us is that the government had announced that it will go ahead with caste census earlier. So this comes under the topic of background. What is a background? So under the background, there are some interesting facts that we identify. First, we are able to identify that the when we are reflecting upon the things, so we can see that the union had announced the conduction of caste-based census in 2010 and 2011, the population census. We collected the socio-economic caste census in 2011 instead of population census, but the data, the most important thing, it was not made public. And it's very good that it was not made public, otherwise it would have created a lot of friction. But the data was there for the government. So how does data help? We'll be realizing it later. Other governments who have created caste census, basic facts, GS type, like when you have to do match the following and all that. So Karnataka government 2015. Many students will not know this. Bihar 2023 was all over the news. So people might be aware of it, but whether the information related to Karnataka might be missing. So caste census background, if we go, SECC 2011 had the caste data, but it did not make it public. Second, Karnataka. Third, Bihar. You just get a brief insight related to it. Then the students who are reflecting upon it, what is it that we get to understand? So we understand with respect to this that this specific sentence I really appreciated. So when we are collecting such data, when we are collecting such classifications, it facilitates us to give an idea about identity-based inequality and differentiation. Identity-based means caste-based, gender-based, religious. So, and with respect to your individual identity, which caste is getting what, which religious subgroup is getting what. So, with data collection, you get classification on the basis of identity. And that helps us to understand inequality and differentiation with a greater detail. So it will be helpful for us administratively. So when we are talking about background, pre-independence, how it was done. So it was done for two reasons. We can see British, they did it for administrative reason A. Second, they did it for regimentation, regimental classification, like Rajput regiment, Gorkha regiment. So caste-based data, when the British had collected in 1931, the purpose of collecting that data was two. First, administrative information you get, and second, you also are able to create regimental classification. The third benefit we all can see is related to identifying criminal tribe groups, which today are denotified tribe groups. Okay, so this was the benefit which for which the British went ahead. And we can see that when we are talking about the present situation, we can see that the socio-economic characteristics of the communities, when it is available from census records after independence, we see that such data went missing. So this is the background, that we did have some data related to SC/ST category. SC/ST information we had, who is getting identified, who's put in the scheduled list, but we did not have data for OBC and general population, that what is the category, what are the characteristics, socio-economic indicators on the basis of which you are considering a community to be general. On what socio-economic indicators, what are the details of those indicators on the basis of which you are considering a community to be OBC. That data was missing even after independence. So with respect to the same, then I hyphenate the reasons. So you can see how little I'm underlining from a page, like barely ABCD 3-4 point bana diya. एक full length मैंने खींचा, and I just showed you that how barely we have lifted like 5-6 points with respect to background. So we have lifted like which states have done it. Second, pre-independence, what was there? Post-independence, what is lagging in the data? So just briefly, I mean, detail is for a student who's a beginner. A student who's seasoned, Article 16, Clause 4 is also talking about like identification of the backward classes, which will facilitate reservation. And Article 340 of the Constitution, it had mandated the setting of backward classes commission. After independence, we saw that a lot of commissions started getting created. First one was 1953. So this is a background related to how identification on the basis of, we can see, caste was being done, and why it was being done, how it was facilitating. For British, how it was facilitating, and for us, what needs to be done, what we expect to extract. Another thing you must have noticed, we are in the second page. So far, Bihar has not come in concern. So far, it is a generalized discussion which is relevant for any aspirant. Majority of the aspirants would skip it. Bihar census kya karna hai? UPSC actually notices what you are missing and which is constantly in news, and it is a matter of national concern as well. So you don't need to get into details of Bihar caste census, but you need to understand the importance of caste census. What is its relevance? What impact does it create? So we can see that when we are talking about commission, so Mandal Commission, later when it got created, it was the one which classified, we all can see that it created the OBC reservation. You all must be aware of VP Singh's time and all. So we can see that most commissions, including Mandal Commission, it adopted an approach where committees were classified as backward based on expert assessment. Now see this, rather than any quantifiable empirical exercise. This is a very important thing, that you are identifying backwardness on the basis of expert assessment. There are no, like we can say, quantifiable details, objective details, facts and figures on the basis of which you are saying that, okay, this are the indicators on which a specific community is getting identified to be a backward class. Generally, you'll be hearing, like in GS classes, when I also speak, I say that, oh, socio and educational backwardness along with economic indicators. That's it. But there is lack of quantifiability by like almost all commissions post independence, which can clearly help us understand that how we are identifying the on what categories, sub indicators, educational qualifications, which community has gained what level of education. We are actually missing on that. Okay, so you are going to, okay, all right. So if you are appearing for BPSC exam, then you have to extract more from this article. If you're not appearing for BPSC exam, still I'm just giving so far a generalized understanding from the article, which is helpful for any civil services aspirant. And because these things on and off, they come in news. So in general, if in interview also the examiner is raising the concern, that can create some kind of uncertainty if you are not posted about it. Again, we can see there are three reasons why caste census is central for backward caste politics. Three reasons why it is important, why caste census is important. First, the classification is based on observed social practice of untouchability. We know that SC आइडेंटिफाई करना बहुत इजी है. तो SC हम किस बेसिस पे आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं? सो दिस द फर्स्ट कैटेगरी, that is on the basis of untouchability, the social practice of untouchability, whichever community has experienced, put it under the SC list. Then further, when we move ahead, we can see that it's saying that when we are talking about OBC caste, so it is on socio-economic, educational, all of us are aware. The identification of which would require an empirical evaluation. Empirical means data-based evaluation of their social situation based on census-like exercise, because census gives us a very exhaustive data about household economics, the things which we are availing. There are, like earlier, there were 11 indicators. Let's see how many indicators they pick up this time. So when all the data is being picked and then it is put to evaluation, we are able to understand that what possibilities are unfolding on ground. So many communities have demanded inclusion OBC reservation. Must have seen so much of canvassing going on. We want to be a part of OBC, Patel and then Jat movements, right? So this is what it indicates. So when you're a reader, exhaustive reader of the article, who's making the gist, and let us consider all of you have been assigned the same article right now. You are not going to do the same article because different people. Any specific criteria mentioned in the constitution for such? Yes, this is the criteria. The first one, social practice of untouchability. Any community experiencing untouchability goes under the classification of SC. All right. Then second, it is saying the Supreme Court, which allowed reservation for the OBCs, puts a cap. This is what the Supreme Court did. That reservation cap of 50%. You cannot let it exceed beyond 50%. I think all of you are again aware of this thing, right? But still, there was no unmeasured demographic share. Okay, you cannot determine just the way you can determine SC population this percent, ST population this percent. The government does not try to declare any detailed data related to OBC reservation, the sub-classification of it, because it will start a different level of identity politics. Anyway, that's another key takeaway. We get that what is missing when we are going for data analysis. And we can see that some castes disproportionately they benefit from reservation. The same thing which I was talking about, the elites amongst the backward sections. So elites, whether it is, we can say, the elites amongst SC, the elites amongst ST, right, who are benefiting from it. And same is sometimes with certain castes as well. Yes, Indra Sahni case, you can connect with that as well. That's what I said, that a lot of background that you have prepared will also keep flashing. But here I'm teaching you how to extract. I'm not interested to teach this topic. I'm just interested to make you understand how to extract. Further, you will see it's talking about the same data-backed empirical analysis, this between communities. So why is this data required? It is an essential tool for cultivating a better understanding of systematic inequality and socio-economic disparities. When you have a better understanding, it will facilitate policy designing and implementation. So when you are suppose making the gist, you are writing that having a clear, systematized, quantifiable data, all the words from the top. So a clear, systematized, quantifiable data facilitates a better understanding of systematic inequality and socio-economic disparities, which further aids in policy designing and implementation. All the keywords from your syllabus connected to what is in front of us. That's it. Now, when we are going to step into this area, caste-based reservation in Bihar, we are understanding that for UPSC, we don't need all these details and data. It is for students preparing for BPSC. So I'll encourage them to go through it in a greater detail, like running through all the information. Now, what is required for you? So suppose I'm just running through it. अच्छा 70 like annex your one ये वो अच्छा इतना 1951 में ये हुआ और हमेशा यही सोच रहे यूपीएससी से इसका क्या लेना देना मुंगेरी लाल जो हैं उनके चेयरमैनशिप में आया कमिटी, फिर कर्पूरी ठाकुर आए, कर्पूरी ठाकुर अपना सजेशन दी। मैं पॉलिटिक्स में इंटरेस्टेड हूं, मैं पढ़ लू, लेकिन यूपीएससी में कभी एक्सक्लूसिव क्वेश्चन इस पे नहीं बनेगा, तो आई कैन जस्ट जंप जंप जंप। फिर बीपी मंडल आए, वो खुद एक बिहारी थे, उन्होंने रिपोर्ट 1980 में सबमिट किया। गवर्नमेंट 10 इयर्स तक एकदम लेड बैक थी। 1990 the VP Singh led government took up all these issues. I'm not underlining it, mind it. I'm just trying to show to all the students who are watching it online. So he is identifying what is required, what kind of intervention. Then all these given sub-segments related to what was unfolding in Bihar. So a student preparing for that exam may be needing it. We don't need it for UPSC. Further moving ahead, like the SC category was like when we were talking about Dalit elites, here is the example. So in SC category, Paswans are enjoying the benefit of SC category more. Vis-a-vis means simultaneously along with Chamars and Muskars. But other SC community are not benefiting so very much. So three subcategories of SC are enjoying more than other categories of SC. This example can be taken up if a student is having sociology optional in the chapter of caste system, that how the SC elite, अब आपने जो दलित elite की बात की, आप ये चीज example में दे सकते हैं, it will be more recent compared to taking MN Srinivas 1970s examples. So you can come up with 2024 examples. That's how you update. And just you need to remember is the name of thinkers. That's it. According to so and so, 2024 bracket में डाला year and then फिर ऐसे. Suppose you are doing it for GS. So you just remember this one sentence, and wherever, because in past 10 years, we have got at least 4 questions related to caste system. So wherever you get the caste class dynamics, caste and politics, these areas have been of importance in GS also. So there also you can just mention this as a passing example, because you can pick example from any region, no, any part of India. It should be just a verifiable example. So it's a verifiable example. So you can pick it and you can use it in this given dimension. All keywords are of sociology. No, not really. These are not sociology words, being honest. These are general statements which you can find even in The Hindu if any of these guest editors are writing. For UPSC answer writing, do we need to remember the names of elites? 3 or 4? No, no, no. You, when you are writing an answer for UPSC, just remember one example. It can be from your individual state also, that oh, the entire like suppose someone is from Rajasthan and thinks that the ST reservation is hijacked by Meenas, and the person is like the tribal elites who hijack the reservation uh, from the generalized category to the specific community, for example Meenas in Rajasthan. No one can contest it. No one bothers whether you are from Rajasthan or not. You can pick from any state. It's just that the example should be authentic. So these examples, which we are getting courtesy this article, we can pick this also. If we have other examples, we can continue with it. The only thing is these are latest examples based on latest data. Now, अब यहाँ पे बिहार सेंसस कास्ट बेस्ड सर्वे कैसे कंडक्ट हुआ? बहुत ऑनेस्ट सर्वे हुआ, बहुत रिलेटिवली बायस फ्री सर्वे था, प्रेजुडिस फ्री सर्वे था। कहाँ हुआ, कैसे हुआ, वो सारा डिटेल। क्या करना है इसका यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशन में, क्या करना है? वी डोंट नीड इट, सो वी विल जस्ट जंप ऑल ऑफ इट ऐसे। और जो बिकॉज यू आर मेकिंग द जिस्ट, सो रन थ्रू लाइक दिस, जस्ट क्विकली स्कैनिंग थ्रू द sentences in the first reading. You can mark also कि ये थोड़ा सा एक बार बाद में देख लेंगे कि क्या पता कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट निकले, और यू कैन लीव ऑल्सो इफ यू फाइंड दैट समथिंग इज नॉट सो इंपॉर्टेंट। तो पहली बार आपको एक वर्ड यहां पर इस कैटेगरी मिलेगा, एमबीसी। ओबीसी एवरीवन नोस, अदर बैकवर्ड क्लासेस। फर्स्ट टाइम दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मोस्ट बैकवर्ड क्लासेस which are more disadvantaged compared to the OBC also. मतलब OBC में भी जो और ज्यादा backward है, already you are giving OBC reservation, but in that category also there is a subcategory which this census found out. Now this is the importance of empiricism, data collection, that within the same subcategory they could find out the more vulnerable amongst the vulnerable. So see this, most MBC का full form, most disadvantageous, like classes, most disadvantageous classes. These are MBCs under OBCs, among the OBC population. ये सब डिटेल दिया, इसको जंप मारे, ठीक है। उसके बाद एक और वर्ड दिया ORC, आफ्टर MBC another keyword we find is ORC. So this is the 6th category that they added, and these are new castes which got incorporated in this area. Why will I hyphenate this? Because later if this word is discussed I'm able to remember what is MPC, what is ORC. I'm not like lost because it's not a commonly used word like in general news and general reports. So it is non-local upper caste such as Khatris and Bengali caste. ठीक है, एक idea मिल गया. अच्छा, ये सब वो हैं जो थोड़ा सा अब जैसे खत्री community और Bengali caste, they are the people who are like migrating, settling over there. So this is a sixth subcategory they created. That's the importance of data. You identify who is belonging to the community एंड हु इज नॉट देयर. फिर यहाँ पे कुछ कंफ्यूजन भी होता है. लोहार्स जो है उनको लोहरा या लोहारा कामर कास्ट मिक्सड अप हो गए हैं. फिर उसके बाद एक छोटी कम्युनिटी है ट्रांसजेंडर्स की जो कि 0.1% है, नेग्लिजिबल है. चूंकि नेग्लिजिबल है हम खुद इसको स्किप मार देंगे. रीजन 150 वर्ड answers, 250 word answers. We don't have the space and scope to get into such details because it's a state specific detail. We have to be very clear about it. Running through all the facts and figures. See, this is how like it has to be done. So you're running through. You're like, okay, ठीक है, यहाँ पे ये परसेंट, वहाँ पे वो परसेंट, SC का इतना परसेंट, ST का इतना परसेंट, लेकिन है सारा state specific. Jump, jump, jump. So you keep jumping. Now you must be realizing, boy, it's so easy, right? So many caste group, sub caste group, क्या करना है? State का specific है. हाँ, स्टेट कमीशन है तो आपको थोड़ा उसको देख लेना. अब ये बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग सा कंपैरेटिव दिया. ये कंपैरेटिव्स हम लोग यूज करते हैं ऐसे कि ऐसे हो जाए थोड़ा जानदार, पढ़ने में आ जाए मजा. अरे यार गजब, दिस वाज समथिंग व्हिच वी हैड नॉट थॉट ऑफ. सो बिहार्स लेवल ऑफ फ्रैगमेंटेशन measured on caste membership is extreme. Means there is so much of fragmentation, there is so much of subdivision that this level of subdivision is not even present in China or United States or Brazil. Because in China, if we talk about ethnic fragmentation, okay, this let's connect the two words, ethnicity with fragmentation. So if we see ethnic fragmentation of China is 15%, while the ethnic fragmentation in US is recorded at 49% and Brazil at 54%, whereas in India, only the state of Bihar has recently recorded an ethnic fragmentation of, and then you can talk about 96%. That means between two people, there is a high probability of greater difference. देखो यहाँ पे लिखा है, two individuals have 96% probability of belonging to different communities. In Brazil, 54% probability two individuals will be of different ethnicity. US 49%. China. अब सोचिए इंडिया में कितनी डाइवर्सिटी कि एक स्टेट के अंदर, विद इन अ स्टेट, two individuals can have two completely different characteristics, completely different social identities. That's the diversity of India. So you can pick this, but for essay, not GS. GS में इतना intellectual liberty नहीं. 150 250 वर्ड में क्या कर लो, है ना? ओके, अब यहाँ पे देखो, ऊपर भागते हैं थोड़ा सा. फिर यहाँ पर इसी तरह से क्या सोर्स है, क्या वेरिएबल है, क्या क्या डेटा यूज किया, नॉट नीडेड. अब यहाँ पर ये थोड़ा सा दिया, 215 इंडिविजुअल कास्ट ट्राइब यूज हुआ. दिस फॉर BPSC student, not required for a UPSC student. But this is important, which you should pay attention, because all of you study multidimensional poverty index. और यहाँ पर identification के मतलब characteristics दिए, categories दिए. So it's saying that the 7 indicators that was used in this census, caste census, was income. So income was determining the class, employment status, household characteristics, vehicle, computer ownership, educational attainment, and migration. These were the 7 categories that were identified. अब ये migration में भी help करेगा. MPI के कुछ indicators जैसे education, computer ownership, vehicle, right? This income, all these are somewhat associated with MPI. But this also gives us an idea that these 7 categories are there. A lot of other categories which are there in MPI that is missing over here. We can sense that also, because you remember in MPI there was CMR, child mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, not maternal, it was adolescent mortality. Then there was antenatal health. So there are segments which are missing over here. Bank account. So there are segments which we can see that those dimensions have not been incorporated, right? After this, when we further move ahead. So suddenly you must be realizing it's not a Bihar specific article. You have to be smart in sieving, and your smartness benefits all, and other smartness benefits you. And that's how burdening the like load shedding is done. The admin, when she is reported that हाँ भाई मेरा article बन गया, या उस शुरू में किसी को दिक्कत हो गई, हाय नहीं बन रहा है, she also helps and facilitates. If suppose a student has provided a bulkier article, मुझे लग रहा है यार कुछ ज्यादा ही नहीं bulky हो गया, So then I engage my head that let me see what all can be cut down. So once in a while, if some trimming is required, I also get into it. And sometimes I give because sometimes I feel that the language is necessary because this is not a very crisp, like a factual article. So in those articles where a lot of analysis is there, then I encourage, ठीक है, sentence लिख सकते हैं. Because a student needs to read the sentence to understand. Because other students are not reading the details of the article. Other students are not reading those articles. They are just reading your gist. So how should the gist create a balance of language and facts? That has to be understood. Now, so further, you can see that I have seen that the census is not including electricity, toilets, drinking water. The data related to age, sex, land ownership is also not published. So there are some interesting insights we are seeing that what is missing when it is coming to why will this be important for us in future if data collection is happening and someone is asking what variables should be incorporated. Remember MPI, that will solve 90% of your misery. Few extra segments like land ownership is not in MPI. So these, the component of age is not in MPI. So you can incorporate that. The dynamics related to age, sex is there because in MPI it is an intra-household dynamics, but age cannot be determined anyway. So age and land ownership along with the MPI indicators, don't write MPI, this indicators can facilitate for us to evaluate the ground level data and find a meaningful intervention. So that's what data facilitates the meaningful intervention. Then again you can see la la la, these are the final challenge, language ऐसा था, print ऐसा था, PDF में नहीं था. तो ये सब रिसर्चर का अपना प्रॉब्लम है, इतना हमें जीएस में नहीं चाहिए. सोशियोलॉजी में भी आपको नहीं चाहिए with respect to this. अब सोशियोलॉजी में कहा अगर कोई मान लो रिसर्च मेथड्स एंड टेक्निक्स पेपर चैप्टर 3 कर रहा है पेपर 1 का, तो वहां लिख सकता है कि इफ द डेटा इज वेरी एक्सॉस्टिव एंड पीडीएफ इज नॉट क्लियर और पीडीएफ इज नॉट अवेलेबल, the print is not clear, it is in vernacular language, data collection, these can create a problem. That's for social students, but not for GS students. That's why I'm sieving the possibilities further. Then when we further move ahead, थोड़ा थोड़ा बस tweaking मैंने किया. ये देखो, ये आपको एकदम ना हैरत में डाल दे. Visualize this. You can use it in essay. You can use this in, if required, GS also. When people are saying how far poverty is diminishing, see that more than 40% of SC/ST households report incomes below 6,000 rupees per month. Now visualize how the person will be eating, how the person's basic standard of life would be there. So when someone is refusing reservation, someone is against reservation, present such data. That 40% of the SC/ST in Bihar, according to the caste census, they are earning less than 6,000 rupees per month. So if any child from this vulnerable background is able to attain education on the basis of scholarships, first free education, then later scholarships, then a reservation can actually change the household dynamics dramatically. One of my cousins actually studied from BIT Mesra, and he was sharing that there was this boy who came from a very vulnerable tribal background, whereby he said that he had a very torn, ragged school bag and a little hold doll in which he had got his basic stuffs, and he was not even having a proper blanket. So he said that when my mother saw, when she visited and she saw that his blanket is so thin. So when she was purchasing a fat, thick blanket for me, she purchased one for him as well. And over the time period, as we completed BTech, we really became like best of buddies, brothers. And he is like a brother too. And he was like, there was few brothers whom I earned during the course. Why am I sharing this? These narratives, these insights, when you have this sensitivity, spinning the content for essay becomes effortless. It is not like you are writing MPI data and you're going data after data. When you're writing essays, there is a compassionate connect. While reading the content, we can see the compassionate connect. So reading such articles also creates that. All right, all right. So reading such content actually creates that compassionate connect. See another interesting fact. Income heterogeneity is much more acute amongst whom? Mushars and Bhuiyas. Both are scheduled caste and they are poorest groups in Bihar. Their income is less than 8,000 per month. Again, another interesting fact further when we are talking about. So when we are talking about 5 castes and tribes have an average of average income of like 9,000 rupees. Imagine 5 caste and tribes having average income of 9,000. We are not talking about India of 1990s. We are talking of India of 2024. They have also identified the like groups. You can see Chopals, Domes, Santals. There further, we can see two more communities, Tiers, the MBC, that is most backward caste, now you can recall, and Ghatwars, that is backward castes. These are the communities who are struggling. For sociology student, information directly lifted. For GS student, not so much. Just pick any of it, either this, Mushar, Bhuiya, or pick the generalized information, this one, and that should be more than enough. All right. Now, further, when we are speaking of the relevance of these pieces of information, I hope I'm not missing out anything. You can see how effortlessly I'm leaving the tables. नहीं चाहिए इतना. यूपीएससी प्रेपरेशन में यही सबसे पहले सीखना है क्या नहीं चाहिए because this is not 2005 and 7, this is 2024. You have too much of information, so segregation is important, and best part is first hand good quality information is at your stake. Just segregating is like to be learned. So we can see this is another very, I would say, qualitative reflection. We can see that if we extend our examination to 10 least educated population with less than 4.5 years of education. So what do they identify? Then they identify the caste groups, this. Now here, there was a very interesting segment. यहाँ पे ये इसलिए कि कोई अगर पढ़ ही रहा है तो पूरा ही पढ़ ले. चौपाल, डोम, तियर, घाटवार. In Muslims, MBCs में names are like Sher Shahbadis, Kulhayyas, and then you have Surajpuri Muslims. So just becoming aware of the names briefly. That's it. What is more important? And you don't see, I have not underlined it. Not required to be consolidated in the gist. Not required. Then when we are further moving ahead, we all can see I have identified this very important relation. The analysis shows the relation between education and income is curvilinear. What does this mean? See, improvements at low average education level appear to yield only limited income benefits, especially to whom? To the lower caste groups. So lower caste groups with access to average level education or low average level of education, there is no massive income benefit. But see, change the caste and see the difference. But when you are talking about more privileged communities, a single year of education translates into an income rise of more than 5,000. So this is the dynamics of caste with education. Your lower caste, you are having low level of education, and your level of social mobility, economic mobility is not so tremendous as much as a person from upper caste when getting access to a higher, no, not higher, when getting access to one extra year of education, the way the person can increase one's income base. So that's something which you can take. फिर यहाँ पे कुछ कुछ और मैंने अंडरलाइन कर लिया कि डेटा ने डॉक्यूमेंट किया रिलेटिवली पुअर पोजीशन ऑफ टू मुस्लिम कम्युनिटीज पठान्स एंड शेख. मतलब अगर हम अपर कास्ट की बात कर रहे हैं तो अपर कास्ट में भी अमंग्स्ट द जनरल कम्युनिटी हिंदूज द कंडीशन इज बेटर देन द general community Muslims. All right. So Muslims, they don't get SC reservation, but they do get OBC reservation. So here, these people are not getting OBC reservation. I mean, when we talk about Pathans and Sheikhs. But we can see that despite having relatively better income, better education than other Muslims, their condition is relatively inferior compared to the general community Hindus. That's another data insight that we get. यहाँ पर भी देख लीजिए SC में कौन बेटर है SC ST में. So there is like Gonds, Dhobis, Kharwars, Loharas. They are better off. This is for sociology student and not for GS students. Again, we can see amongst the, we can say the Dalit communities who is getting it. So like we can say as Dalits and tribals when we are talking about. So Dalits, it is nuts and domes. Amongst tribals, it is Santals and Uraus, who are also pronounced as Urao or Kuruk. So just the keywords. Then further moving ahead. अब यहाँ पर significant inequality is existing despite people belonging to the same administrative category. Means the government is identifying you under the same category of reservation or marginalization. But still within the same category, belonging to the same category, there is significant inequality. The same thing, the component of elite factor that we see. So caste that are identified as dominant, they are getting more benefits. Like you can remember Kurmis, Kushwahas, Yadavs, they will be getting more benefits rather than the communities who are belonging to the same category but much less in number, much less exposed. Now, further, when we are running through this given article, देखो फैक्टर एनालिसिस, अब जितना भी डिटेल और वो सब मैंने अंडरलाइन नहीं किया, which I had marked कि एक बार बता दूं, but not needed. You can see this because it's all Bihar specific analysis. Why should we go ahead with it? So just running through. You can just see that. And then this बिहार में हम देखते हैं मुस्लिम पॉपुलेशन ऑन एन एवरेज बाकी कम्युनिटीज से ज्यादा डिसएडवांटेजियस है, जो बात मैंने कहा यहाँ पर लिखा भी है. So you can just go ahead. Then comes the conclusion part, the last bit. So within the conclusion, you all can see some very interesting comparisons have been given. I missed the sentence, the last sentence I had to pick and then come to this. So the caste census conducted in Bihar represents a significant success. Within few months, despite legal hurdles, the government completed a census in a territory with a population. Now this, Bihar ka population, kitna hai? So this is something which you can use in other areas of GS or essay. So you can see that Bihar's population would rank as world's 10th highest between Russia and Mexico. स्वाद आ गया, ठीक. यही सब चीजें हम ऐसे में लिखते हैं कहीं इन जनरल व्हेन वी थ्रो दीज स्टेटमेंट्स, व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दो we are able to like decrease our TFR, but regional disparities in TFR needs to be taken care of. For example, the population of Bihar competes with that of Mexico and Russia. Now people have a visualization of the data and then they're like, oh my goodness, that's so tremendous, right? Again, the last but not the least, we can see this given dimension. The analysis has highlighted 4 limitations in this census. First, there is no information related to this. I hyphenated that. Second, critical information collected during census, there is land ownership. वो भी अभी तक tabulate नहीं हुआ. उसके बाद हम देखते हैं the lack of granularity in the results published prevents us from exploring issues related to regional inequalities between districts and localities. So another thing which we have to take granularity is the details, the finer details. So that finer detail is not there. So we have a wholesome state level data, but regional, district level, local level means from macro to micro level analysis is tedious in this case. If it was possible to have a micro level analysis also, we would have been able to publish data related to specific districts. That would have been possible. So that's what it is saying. And last but not the least, here it's like the absence of disaggregated data does not allow us to examine disparities within each caste and tribe in greater depth. So when you don't have an exhaustive, in detailed micro level data, that also creates a trouble to understand that how within the same caste, there can be certain more marginalized factions, or within a tribe, more marginalized factions. So then the explanations are given, and these 4 limitations in general should be taken care of whenever there is a caste-based data collection that is being done. If someone is asking that if caste-based data collection is done, what are the challenges or what are the limitations? So you can put these, and simultaneously you can always put the disclaimer, and such data should be with the government to facilitate policy designing and implementation, but making it public can be tedious from the point of view of social unrest. Finish. Now, suddenly you must be feeling that this level of discussion is qualitatively so rich compared to all that you have been reading in and around you related to social issues or all the information that you have been collecting by and by. You must be realizing that, right? So that's why I'm saying be little crisp, be tedious, be sharp, razor sharp, and just collect what is relevant. Be super clear about what is relevant. So as I had started this given session on this note, that whenever you are starting with the gist making, why am I reading it? Why means which chapters will it help? And then what is relevant for me? So what is relevant for me? So how much should I pick? What I should lose? What is it that is getting connected to the chapters, topics, subjects, whatever. Okay. So that also needs to be created. So when you understand the why, you can facilitate the what. All right. So I hope all of you could gain something from this news analysis related to EPW, and you have got a comprehensive clarity regarding how this EPW exercise would be conducted. I don't like, suppose if I make this lecture public so that in general students learn how to make the gist of EPW. But the gist that students prepare, which I showed to all of you that this is how your friends are preparing, this given like a dimension associated with nutri cereal crops, why farmers leave it, is just a gist of the EPW article with just a brief reflection, which the student also incorporated the GS insights. Or I showed you these articles which these students have prepared. I never published them because भाई किसी बच्चे ने घिस के पूरा आर्टिकल का जिस्ट बनाया, उसने जनसेवा में तो बनाया नहीं है. And I'm not paying anyone for this कि हाँ भाई तुमको इसका salary मिलेगा. No, it is for your own benefit, your own mains exam. And this quality level analysis you will do because you want selection. So you'll not leave any stone unturned to understand the article. If you're getting struck, any student in the group struggling with it reaches out to me that, ma'am, I need some help. Can you schedule a session and we can discuss over the article, what to pick and what to leave if a student is struggling. So I do that. But the what is the reward? The reward is exclusivity. It doesn't go out in public because you are creating, it's yours. It should not be even monetized by me. That will be unethical. So that's it. All right. If you people get stuck up with anything related to other papers also, okay, so there are certain questions. I'll take those questions. Ma'am, what would be the subheading you would suggest under which we can place the underlined material? The same like subheadings under which they have created. First, like why, this, because I'll be preparing this gist. ये जो आपको दिखाया ना, I'll be creating that gist and I'll be posting in your group. And then I'll be giving the assignments. So like first, why caste census is necessary. Then what are the key takeaways in general from Bihar census? What are the suggestions for improvement? That's it. Done. And it will be barely 1.5 pages, not more than that. High side अगर language भी दे दिया तो 2, but not beyond that. Again, with respect to this, when we move, ma'am, can we say that caste census actually enhances the need for subcategorization amongst SCs? But the reluctance of political parties to accept can further enhance politicization of caste in India. Yes, that's so very true. Subcategorization of the deprived caste-based communities is essential because that will facilitate identifying the poorest amongst the poor, the most vulnerable amongst the lot, and the kind of targeted intervention they can get. When I was taking the GS portion, I had discussed about intensity of vulnerability to be calculated. If we are able to identify intensity of vulnerability, which community is vulnerable on how many indicators, and then giving the caste reservation that someone, like let's say, lacking on 7 indicators and someone is lacking on 3 indicators, so the fellow lacking on 7 indicators deserves the reservation more than the person lacking on 3 indicators. So ये सब कैटेगराइजेशन तब होगा ना जब ये डाटा वाटा होगा. डाटा के एब्सेंस में कैसे होगा? डाटा का वन ऑफ द सोर्सेज इज सेंसस. But the thing is, politicization of census data should not take place. And that's why I said that safeguarding the details of the data by the government is also essential. But subcategorization will facilitate the policy intervention accordingly. The government can choose to tweak what is essential, what should go public, and what should not. Academicians had the access to SECC, few of them. That's how they could like reflect upon what's happening and what ought to be taken up as an intervention. Not all, but few did have that access. Some can be limitations, key takeaways. Yes, yes, yes. That's how the headings can be created. All right. So I believe all of you have got an idea how we have to go ahead with the EPW article. All right. So thank you so much for your presence. I hope this 1 hour exercise was helpful for all of you and it added some meaningful insight related to your preparation. So looking forward to your contribution, meaningful contribution. I'll try to like do as much hand holding as possible whenever you are getting stuck with any article, any explanation. Whatever is needed from my part, I'll be supporting you. All right. So thank you so much. Take care. Good night.